What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Shredlord.
I'm Jammin Jon.
And we have an album review for you. So yet another one that came out on the 16th of April on this year, which this day seems to be super busy with releases, was the newest album from Endseeker, Mount Carcass. This comes out on Metal Blade Records. This band formed in 2014 in Hamburg, Germany. This is their third full-length, second on Metal Blade. They have one other EP, and I just gotta say that these guys kind of come from a subset of German death metal bands that sound a hell of a lot like Swedish death metal bands.
Agreed.
Fleshcrawl, Revel in Flesh, Slaughter Day, and Endseeker. These guys all sound like they popped up in Stockholm around like the early 90s. But I don't know, it's just kind of their thing. And I mean, HM2 death metal is kind of its own thing, and it's everywhere, honestly. But it does seem interesting that the Germans really have latched onto it.
Yeah, because the vocals are fiercely German.
Yes.
The music is not.
I gotta say, I like the vocals on here just because his accent comes through, and I don't know, that kind of just makes it more fun. I don't know. He's well enunciated.
Yes.
And he has a really just kind of rabid, dramatic delivery, and surprisingly, like, an interesting range. You get howls, you get that mid-range scream, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get like an ultra-low growl. And musically, I mean, if you love Bloodbath, Dismember, and touches of melodic death metal, this is kind of an interesting one because its foot is almost in two camps here. One in Stockholm, one in Gothenburg. Opening track, Unholy Rites, pretty much sets it off, and I mean, you're greeted to straight up bloodbath worship. Fast, aggressive riffing, but with like a notable melody that is kind of carried throughout it.
Holy buzzsaw, Batman. There's a lot of buzzsaw guitar.
Snarls, though. It sounds good.
Yeah, it
Well
sounds
produced.
really, dude, this album's really well produced.
It sounds full, like it's not just like a really like grainy kind of like gainy tone. It doesn't crackle or hiss, which I mean, I like that too, but this thing sounds full. The bass backs it up well, though it is kind of indistinct, but it sounds really well mixed.
The bass, unless you're listening for it, unless you're listening specifically for that instrument, you're not going to pick up on it much.
Yeah, it gets drowned out a little bit,
Yep.
but when it does come through, it does have some good tone going on when it does pop through.
Yeah.
But those rhythm guitars are so thick.
Oh,
It's
God.
hard to get anything past that wall.
I mean, you know, jamming bands like Lick, I mean, those guys definitely know what they're doing. This is very similar, though, again...
Lick is thick.
Ooh,
Yeah.
2 C's.
Yep, 2 C's.
But yeah, the up-tempo tracks were the ones that I really latched onto because, I don't know, I just like the high-energy stuff on here. The title track, Mount Carcass, is an absolute ripper, and then towards the end, Frantic Redemption. It might be the heaviest track on
Frantic
here.
Redemption is a beast. The breakdown in that song is nasty.
Oh.
Nasty.
And when this tone chugs, like, you feel it. Like, every little palm-muted scrape, I don't know, it makes my speaker feel like it's going to die, I'm sure.
Yep. I got the sour lemon face.
Oh, yeah.
That was a
Oh,
good thing.
yeah. It does give you sour lemon face, man.
And riffs aplenty. Like, we're talking just aggressive riffing. And that was the thing I really latched onto, though there's a lot more to this, though.
Some of my favorite moments of this album are when they step away from the bloodbath type stuff and they go more of the melodic death metal side. Tracks like Bloodline start out kind of bloodbath, but then the hooks that this band throws throughout this album, this one in particular, really kind of gives me, I don't know, it really latched on to me for some reason. I thought it was a really strong hook for this song. And then the other one that has a really strong hook, Count the Dead. Mm-hmm. It's a nice mid-tempo when the guitars breathe a little bit, when they kind of riff it out, as opposed to just hitting the tremolo riff or just the fast riffing. That guitar tone snarls and it sounds really, really, really good.
There's a different mood on that song, too. It feels like it has this big triumphant...
Yeah, Count the Dead, it's an epic song. There's like a satanic stomp in it where you're just fucking trudging through the fucking
And there's a stomp
muck
a
of
lot
hell.
in this record,
Yeah.
but in Count the Dead, it feels like the mode of the song feels different.
It doesn't feel as though it's trying to be as sinister and evil, like it's giving you like a big anthem to pump your fist to. And with Bloodline, I don't know, like when it came down to like their more mid-tempo stuff, it kind of reminded me of like, you know, like Bolt Thrower or Monomarth, except more evil. Like, way more evil. Now, in terms of, like, a slight break, too, I want to say Moribund is an interesting one because it starts off almost kind of death doomy. It's actually one of the slowest sections on it. Actually, remind me a little bit of Paradise Lost, albeit a lot grittier. and then moves into like the D-beat sort of punky territory that really kind of harks back to those old school Dismember days. But the icing on the cake, honestly, for me was the cover of Escape from New York. And I mean, I haven't seen that movie in a while, and now I definitely want to see it again.
It got me right in the Kurt Russell.
Dude, it tickled my Snake Plissken.
It nibbled my Jack Burton.
I know, I like the fact that we constantly bring up John Carpenter on here, because anytime we hear like lush, creepy 80s synths.
But these guys did it with guitar.
All guitar, all riffs, and I mean, it captures the complete feel. And this was actually one of the few times you could hear the bass too, because the guitars weren't like constantly hammering. It was like big single chords.
The mix for this song specifically, everything sounded a lot more even.
Gelling nice.
Gelling.
Nice.
Gelling.
Gelling like a felon high in penicillin. Patent it, baby.
Overall, I mean, this is an absolutely fun album. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Granted, I mean, it kind of sounds, again, like all those bands that heavily influenced them. And I don't know, it's almost getting to the point where HM2 death metal is becoming kind of its own like subgenre, like, kind of like gent, or gent's not a subgenre, or it is. There's still that debate. But
something.
It's that style, and it is centered around a specific tone or a specific, sound.
Thing.
I don't know, but I mean, overall, I enjoyed this. This is a solid album. I think it's better than the last one. This one actually feels a little bit more settled in, and I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. It's a fun Swedish death metal album from Germany. I love the riffs. There's a lot of dynamics going on. I like the more energetic, up-tempo stuff. I think that stuff actually kind of, screams more energetic. I don't know, that's just what I was into more in here. But the mid-tempo stuff's good too. Overall, I'd definitely say check this thing out if you love any of the bands we brought up.
I'm going to give it a 3. I like this band. I like that it sounds very Swedish death metal. I mean, who doesn't like Bloodbath? It's like a less evil Bloodbath.
Yeah.
Like less evil Swedish death metal. Production is absolutely killer. On point, definitely, for music like this. I do wish the bass was a little bit more present. Like, there's one song where he noodles a little bit on the bass, and you're like, oh, bass solo, and then it's gone.
Yep.
And then it's the last time you hear it. I can't shake David Vincent out of my head. After listening to this guy on vocals, I can't shake David Vincent out. Especially during the hardcore Radical era.
I don't know about that. He has the how he enunciates things, except with German accent. It's a little different, but yeah, the fact that he enunciates, that's definitely a Vincent thing.
Yep. But overall, I enjoyed it. Please listen to it. Please jam it. My rating may be different from these guys, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't jam a killer record. This is the first time I've ever heard this band, so it was a good little introduction.
I'm going to go ahead and say 3.5 as well. It is a good blend of death metal. It is a good blend of melodic death metal. And while it plays to some of its influences a little tight, it was tight and right. Production was good. The guitars were snarling. The songs were fucking crushing. When they were trying to be brutal, they were brutal. When they tried to be melodic, they did a good job of coming up with hooks, and they did a good job of changing the hooks up.
Yep.
And especially for their third album, I mean, these guys are kind of still in the midst of growth, per se, but they're definitely on a trajectory up. So, good album. Give it a listen.
So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon too, so if you'd like to help us out there, and click the link below and join on there. We are going to have exclusive content on there, like a lot of outtakes and all
Pictures
sorts
of Jammin Jon's nipples.
Totally, that definitely going to happen. He didn't know about that until right now.
We'll do a poll, maybe.
I need to do...
Are they pierced or not pierced?
All I know is he's a very sound sleeper.
I need to do some manscaping.
Oh, okay.
For these photos. We
Sure.
just can't... You can't just put a nipple out there all nimbly-pimbly.
Well, when people model, there's touch-up. We'll do some brush-ups on you.
We'll make sure the lighting is very favorable, too.
Absolutely.
All that and more on our Patreon. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for it. And with that, we thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you later.